Number 8. Soviet Space Shuttle. Two Soviet-era space shuttles are rusting away in a hangar at the Baikonur Cosmodrome in the Kazakh desert. Photographers like Alexander Kaunas, who recorded a portion of his journey into the cavern to the abandoned shuttles, are drawn to the ruins from all over the world. One of them was a test vehicle, and it was never even supposed to fly. Pichka, the other shuttle, flew but never left the atmosphere. In an effort to surpass American orbiters, the USSR started building the space shuttles in the 1970s. The Soviet shuttles, if built as planned, could fly independently and take larger cargo into space to construct space stations and weaponry. Despite the successful launch of an unpiloted orbiter in 1988, the shuttle program never took off thanks to the Cold War and the crumbling Russian economy. A complete cancellation of the initiative by Boris Yeltsin in 1993 resulted in some of the ships being left to rust in a hangar. When Buran's hangar collapsed during an earthquake back in 2002, 8 people died. The two shuttles, including Pichka, are still in Baikonur, attracting those who enjoy exploring old relics from the space race and Cold War era. When Ralph Mirabs, a photographer, went into the complex in 2015, he took pictures of the abandoned space race memorials. Alexander Kaunos trekked 24 miles over the desert to reach the space shuttle debris field. He then illegally spent 3 nights there. The wreckage of the massive Energia rocket, which was used to launch shuttles into orbit, is found in a secluded cavern right next to the blast-proof shuttle hangar. The shuttles themselves are probably still coated in decades worth of accumulated debris, ready for new inquisitive photographer or a curious urban explorer. Number 7. The Roger Williams Mausoleum. The Roger Williams Mausoleum used to be a dignified resting place for hundreds of people, but now it's nothing more than a crumbling ruin that attracts urban explorers and vandals. The eerie silence inside is broken only by the sound of dripping water and the occasional squeak from a rat. Explorers can walk among open caskets, some of which have been emptied of their bones by thieves. You can see the names and the dates of the deceased, some of whom fought during World War II. It's easy to wonder what kinds of lives these people had, and why they were left to rot in such a place. The mausoleum itself was built in 1926 by Thomas Cullinan, a wealthy businessman who wanted to make a grand monument for his family and friends. He hired the best architects and craftsmen to design the structure, which featured marble floors, stained glass windows, and bronze statues. He also installed a state-of-the-art ventilation system to keep the air fresh. The man spared no expense to ensure that his loved ones would rest in peace and comfort. But after his death in 1962, the mausoleum fell into disrepair. His daughters, who inherited the property, failed to maintain the property or pay taxes. The ventilation system broke, causing mold and moisture to damage the interior. The windows were smashed by vandals, letting in the elements. Statues were stolen or defaced. The mausoleum was eventually declared abandoned in 2012 after no one claimed ownership for the site. Since then, the mausoleum has become a hotspot for urban explorers who brave the dangers of trespassing to find out what lies inside. Some of them are respectful and curious, while others are destructive. A few of them document their findings with photos and videos, while others take souvenirs or leave graffiti. Many of the explorers feel sympathy and sadness for the abandoned dead. The Roger Williams Mausoleum is a place full of contrast, beauty and decay, history and mystery, reverence and disrespect, and most importantly, life and death. Number 6. A ceiling full of books. Imagine exploring an old mansion and finding a secret library in the ceiling. That's what happened to an urban explorer named Urbex Gecko. He shared his discovery on Reddit and YouTube, where people were stunned by the strange find. The mansion is in New South Wales, Australia, and dates back to the 1900s. It was sold in 2021 for $6 million, but has been abandoned since. Urbex Gecko, who's been exploring abandoned places for 15 years, decided to check it out. He was blown away by what he saw. The mansion was filled with antique furniture, paintings, chandeliers, and other relics from the past. But the most surprising thing was a hidden library in the ceiling that could only be accessed by either a stairwell or a lockable door. The library was huge, holding thousands of books as well as seating, work areas, family photos, Middle Eastern artifacts, and even a sewing desk. Urbex Gecko said he had never seen anything like that before and wondered why someone would build such a library in their home. He also said that the mansion was in bad condition, with mold and water damage, and that people had been stealing things from it. He hoped someone would restore the building and preserve its history. Urbex said that urban exploration is his passion and that he feels at home in abandoned places. Number 5. Rosie the Shark. Urban explorers that were making their way around the Wildlife Wonderland Park in Bass, Victoria, Australia, stumbled upon a strange discovery that left them in shock. At Wildlife Wonderland, an abandoned park that's long been forgotten by most locals, they found something that can only be described as extraordinary. A great white shark floating in a tank of formaldehyde. The shark, who's been affectionately named Rosie by the explorers, was well preserved despite the age of Wildlife Wonderland. Her captivating and imposing size made her a remarkable sight as she hung still in time. Its finders were amazed by the shark's seemingly perfect condition, since it had been in a tank for years. Wildlife Wonderland was a popular tourist destination from 1990 until the park closed in 2012 after rising accusations of animal cruelty and neglect. Rosie the shark was caught in tuna nets off the coast of southern Australia back in 1997. Wildlife Wonderland bought the shark from a fisherman and had plans to put the animal on display as an attraction. The park spent about $500,000 to build a custom tank and transport Rosie in a refrigerated truck to the Victoria Park. It's unknown why Rosie was left behind when the facility was abandoned or how long she'd been there, but nevertheless, the discovery was amazing. Rosie the great white shark at Wildlife Wonderland is a testament to Australia's unique wildlife. Why do you think Rosie was left behind? Let us know in the comments down below, and be sure to subscribe to the channel. Number 4. Human remains. Urban exploration can be an exhilarating activity for people seeking the thrill of the unknown. Abandoned buildings, forgotten tunnels, and decrepit factories provide a sense of excitement to those daring enough to venture inside. But sometimes, the unknown can be sinister. This was the case for a group of urban explorers who made a haunting discovery inside the former home of Jackie Pallo, a dead body. The former wrestler Jackie Pallo died in 2006, but his home in West Sussex, England, remains intact to this day. The house was abandoned after Pallo's death, and there have been efforts to restore it. The building has remained untouched for the most part. In 2020, a group of explorers decided to visit the Pallo house and document their findings on YouTube. But what they found was far more terrifying than they anticipated. As the group walked deeper into the house, they noticed a strange smell coming from the upper floors. They followed their noses to the bathroom and found a decomposing body barricaded in a room with a mattress blocking the door. The identity of the victim is unknown, and the cause of death has not yet been determined. The discovery sent shockwaves through the urban exploration community, and many people were left wondering how such a gruesome discovery went unnoticed for so long. The Pallo house has always been shrouded in mystery, with rumors of hauntings and paranormal activity circulating around it for years. But the discovery of the body has added a new layer of intrigue to the place. Many people believe the death is somehow linked to Pallo himself, since the wrestler was known to have connections to organized crime. Others think that the house was used as a hideout for criminals and that the deceased was the victim of some kind of a hit. Despite intense speculation, a police investigation is ongoing, and sadly, there is little information to go on at this point. Still, the discovery has brought attention to the dangers of urban exploration. While it can be a thrilling, exciting hobby, it is also incredibly risky. Number 3. Ramu Prison. History can be found in mysterious places hidden from the outside world. One example is the Ramu underwater prison in Estonia, which served as a notorious KGB jailhouse during the Soviet era. The site was abandoned in 2009, and since then, it has become a popular destination for curious urban explorers who want to learn more about its dark past. The first thing explorers notice in the prison is the eerie silence permeating through the air. The prison is found on a small island near the Estonian coast, and it's only accessible by boat. The prison is surrounded by water on all sides, giving it a sense of isolation that's hard to describe. Explorers have also seen that the prison is in bad shape due to years of neglect, which makes it a very dangerous place. One of the most interesting discoveries there is the graffiti and artwork covering the walls. The prison cells and corridors are covered with colorful murals and messages, which were left behind by prisoners who were detained during the Soviet era. The artwork represents their defiance of the oppressive regime that ruled Estonia back then. The graffiti serves as a reminder of the brutal conditions prisoners endured in a place that was meant to break down their spirits. Another interesting discovery made by explorers is the secret tunnels that were used to transport prisoners to and from the Ramu facility. The tunnels were built underwater and were used to avoid detection by the police, but explorers have not been able to verify this information. The urban explorers have also seen evidence of the brutal treatment of prisoners at the prison. The cells were small and cramped with no windows or ventilation. They've found torture devices like iron cuffs and shackles that were used to restrain prisoners. These discoveries provide a sobering reminder of the inhumane treatment prisoners faced during the Soviets' reign. Number 2. Comics and toys. Could you imagine randomly finding a treasure trove of vintage comics and toys in an abandoned house? That's exactly what happened to Devin Dark, an urban explorer who likes to document his adventures on his TikTok. He shared a video of his amazing comics discovery, and it quickly went viral. Devin found the house somewhere in the US and was shocked to see every room filled to the brim with collectibles from the 80s and 90s. He said he saw Marvel and DC comic books, Star Wars figures, Superman, Spider-Man, and other movie characters. He estimated that the items could be worth millions of dollars, since some of the items sell for over 10 times their original price nowadays. Devin said that the house belonged to a man who collected his entire life until he died a few years ago. He said he felt sad for the guy, but was also amazed by his passion. Devin wanted to respect his legacy and protect the collection from looters, so he didn't reveal the location of the house. Devin's video has since received over 10 million views and thousands of comments from fascinated viewers. Some of them asked him to donate the comics and toys to a museum or a charity, while others offered to straight up buy them from him. Devin said he hasn't decided what to do with the items yet, but he hopes to find a way to honor the man who left them all behind. And at number 1, Soviet computing power. A group of Russian urban explorers went inside an ordinary-looking office building that had been deserted for decades, looking for traces of the past. What they found was a treasure trove of Soviet computing history. The building had a floor filled with old computers from the 1970s. They were mostly clones of DEC machines, which were popular mini-computers in the West. The Soviets copied and modified them for their own use, creating a unique branch of computing development. The explorers found machines ranging from huge cabinets to desktop units, all covered in thick dust and cobwebs. The most remarkable discovery of all was a Saratov II, a PDP-8 clone that was so rare, no one thought any of them had survived. It was one of the first Soviet-made computers, and it had a distinct design with colorful buttons and switches. The explorers were stunned by its beauty. They decided to share it with the world and posted a video of their exploration on TikTok. The video quickly went viral, receiving over 10 million views and thousands of comments from people interested in the Soviet computers. They reported that they didn't know who owned the computers or why they were left behind. They also said that they hoped to preserve the technology somehow, or at least find someone who could appreciate them. In the end, the explorers say they felt like they had traveled back in time and witnessed a forgotten part of history. Number 8. U.S. Navy SEALs. Navy SEALs are the cornerstone of naval special warfare combat units and are suitably named after the environments they operate in, namely the sea, air, or land. They are organized, trained, and equipped for a wide range of special operations tasks. When it comes to recruits, there are 3 things the SEALs look out for. These are men of character, people that can uphold the values of the United States Navy, those with the physical capability to carry out the mission, especially in water, and technical recruits who have the intelligence and ability to learn fast. But that's not all a recruit needs. The physical screening tests are rigorous and involve a 1.5-mile run that has to be finished within 10.5 minutes. They also have to swim 500 yards using either breath or side strokes in under 12.5 minutes, and that's just a test if you get into training. There are then 3 more pre-training tests taken over the course of 7 months, including a grueling physical test, a scuba diving test, and a test of warfare skills, including marksmanship and orienteering. If you get through all this, then you can take the BUD-S, Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL. After this comes the SQT, or SEAL Qualification Training. This 6-month school in Coronado, California prepares graduates to join the SEAL team by training them in diving, shooting, parachuting, small unit tactics, as well as mission planning and diving. After finishing all of this training, graduates are finally then assigned to a SEAL, or SDV squad, for service. The Navy SEALs have been involved in many major wars and conflicts, from the D-Day landings of 1944, deployment in Vietnam, Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm during the Gulf War in 1991, and the rescue of Captain Richard Phillips in 2009. But what the Navy SEALs are most recently famous for is their role in taking down Osama bin Laden in 2011. The SEALs that killed bin Laden were apparently from the Navy SEALs Special Warfare Development Group, or DevGRU, or SEAL Team 6. After their role became known, the SEALs were the focus of worldwide attention as the elite warriors who carried out one of the highest profile special operations raid in history. Number 7. Britain's Special Boat Service. The Special Boat Service is the British Royal Navy's elite marine counter-terrorism outfit. They specialize in daring undercover raids that take advantage of the element of surprise and are made of small, highly trained teams. Most of their operations utilize helicopter raids, storming onto enemy boats by rappelling down quickly and subduing anyone on board. But the SBS has also taken part in deployments on land, including the conflicts in both Iraq and Afghanistan. To add to the reputation of these soldiers, during their deployment in Iraq, a group of SBS soldiers were ambushed by enemy troops. After running out of bullets, they decided to still go out fighting, showing exactly what they were capable of. They attacked the surrounding ISIS forces using knives in their bare hands to take out as many of them as possible. One of the SBS soldiers even drowned an ISIS operative in a puddle. Training to enter the SBS is grueling and consists of intensive endurance training in the Brecon Beacons in Wales and overseas training in Belize. To put into perspective just how hard the training can be, 3 recruits died in 2013 while taking part. The majority of the SBS's actions are classified, so nothing is known about the people in the force or most of their operations, but many of them are from the Royal Marines Commandos and have remarkable physical and mental abilities which have been tried and tested time after time. Number 6. Polish GROM. GROM is a part of the Polish Special Forces. The group was set up in 1990 by General Petelicki. Although they are one of the newer special operations units in the world, GROM shouldn't be underestimated. Their insignia features an eagle holding a lightning bolt in its claws, a move inspired by a World War II Special Forces unit called Cichociminis. The Cichocimini were paratroopers in the Polish liberation movement. Their motto was, "Be silent and unseen." Since their founding and training with British SAS and American Delta Force teams, GROMS has been active in several projects, both on foreign soil and at home. In 1994, they took part in police-type military operations in Haiti. During Operation Little Flower in the Balkans, soldiers apprehended war criminals, including Slavik Dokmanovic, called the Butcher of Vukovar for the crimes he committed in the Bosnian War. GROM is still active in a few regions of Afghanistan, where they've been working since 2002 battling the Taliban, conducting hostage rescue operations, apprehending and destroying hundreds of militants, and helping prevent many attacks on NATO forces. GROM also carries out operations both on land and sea, ranging from reconnaissance to hostage liberation, as well as targeted assaults and raids. With their training in jungle climates in South America as well as the cold wastes of northern Scandinavia, they are ready for anything their next assignment might throw at them. While most special forces around the world put an emphasis on physical and mental strength and endurance, GROM also places high importance on creating bonds and camaraderie. This helps the soldiers within the unit work together seamlessly, making them a considerable threat to enemy forces. Number 5. U.S. Delta Force. Delta Force is the United States Specialist Counterterrorism Force. Their aim is to kill or capture high-value targets and dismantle terrorist cells when possible. Despite this, Delta Force is highly adaptable and engages in direct action missions, hostage rescues, secret missions with the CIA. They also operate as high-ranking protection services for senior officials during visits to foreign countries. Although Delta Force was only put together a few decades ago in 1977, they've been involved in some of the last year's highest-profile operations. These include the Battle of Tora Bora, which focused on killing or capturing Osama bin Laden, the man behind the 2001 9/11 terrorist attack in New York, Operation Red Dawn, which led to the capture of Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein, and Operation Black Swan, where they managed to apprehend the notorious drug baron Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. Other than the U.S. Navy SEALs, Delta Force is one of the best-known special forces in the world. As a result, they have been featured in several movies, including one in 1986 called The Delta Force, starring legendary actor Chuck Norris, and Black Hawk Down in 2001. Delta Force has also found itself subject to multiple video games and novels too. Even though they have a lot of media representation, much of what Delta Force does and operations they have been a part of remains secret to this day. Personnel swear themselves to an oath of silence, and official documents and statements about their actions are few and far between. How do you think you would cope if you were training for a Special Forces division? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button as part of your mission. Number 4. The Sayeret Matkal of Israel. The Sayeret Matkal is Israel's most elite special unit. Instead of engaging in combat, the Sayeret Matkal's primary objective is reconnaissance and uncovering information from behind enemy lines. They can still hold their own in a hostile situation, though. Their skills also make them a top counter-terrorism force and hostage rescue team. The team was created in 1957 and has been involved in a number of high-profile operations over the years, including the rescue of hostages from Uganda's Entebbe airport back in 1976 and the assassination of Hamas leader Salah Shahende in 2002. Members of the Sayeret Matkal are highly trained and competent commandos chosen from the best of the best Israeli Defense Forces for their physical and mental qualities as well as their leadership potential. As a testament to this, many influential figures in Israeli leadership have a close history with the Sayeret Matkal. These include the current Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and leaders of the Israeli Defense Force. Number 3. Indian Marcos. Marcos stands for Marine Commandos, which is a special operations unit in the Indian Navy. These men are the cream of the crop when it comes to the Indian military forces, and they are highly skilled with a wide range of abilities such as amphibious warfare, reconnaissance, and counter-terrorism operations. Marcos was officially formed in 1987 in response to the growing threat of terrorism in their country. Originally nicknamed the Dadiwala Fauj, after the beards the early members adopted as a disguise, they are based in Visakhapatnam, a port city in the east half of India, and their training is said to be among the toughest in the world. In fact, Marcos training is often compared to that of the U.S. Navy SEALs. It lasts 2.5 to 3 years. First, prospective Marine commandos are taught the fundamentals of handling equipment like firearms and explosives, fighting unarmed, parajumping, diving, kayaking, and even photography. They're trained to battle in many situations, including high-altitude cold combat, jungle warfare, and mountain warfare. Interestingly, Marcos recruits are also taught to shoot in different positions. These include lying down, running forward and backward, and while looking into a mirror. Marcos has been involved in several high-profile operations over the years, including the 2008 Mumbai attacks, Operation Black Tornado, and Operation Rahat in 2015, which evacuated Indian citizens from the war-torn Yemen. They are known for their stealth, precision, and courage, and they have earned quite the reputation as one of the most elite special forces units in the world. The Indian Marcos unit is incredibly impressive and highly respected. Their training, skills, and bravery make them a force to be reckoned with, and they play a vital role in protecting India's interests. Number 2. French GIGN. GIGN stands for Groupe d'Intervention de la Gendarmerie Nationale, a French special operations unit that specializes in counter-terrorism and hostage rescue missions. Despite only operating on domestic soil, they are still widely regarded as one of the best and most respected special forces unit in the world. The GIGN was officially created in 1974 after a series of high-profile terrorist attacks in France. Their primary role is to respond to crisis situations and to neutralize threats as quickly and safely as possible. GIGN selects its members from highly skilled personnel from the French National Gendarmerie. They go through a rigorous selection process, and only the best of the best make it. Some of the most notable deployments of the GIGN include the Air France 8969 hijacking in 1994, as well as their help in stopping the ISIS terror attacks in Paris back in November of 2015, which left 130 people dead. Their efforts were mainly centered on helping release hostages being held in the targeted building. One of the things that makes the GIGN unique is how they utilize non-lethal methods of neutralizing threats. They have a wide range of tools and techniques at their disposal, such as stun grenades, tear gas, and more, which they use to incapacitate their targets without actually harming them. Of course, when necessary, the GIGN is also fully capable of using lethal force to take down a threat, but their preference for non-lethal methods is the thing that sets them apart from other special units. And at number 1, the British SAS. The British Special Air Service is known worldwide. Their highly trained personnel are known for covert surveillance, close combat warfare, and hostage rescue. The SAS was formed during World War II when small groups of men were placed behind enemy lines in North African and European regions. One of the most notable missions the SAS has been involved in was the siege of the Iranian embassy in 1980. 6 armed insurgents of the Democratic Revolutionary Front for the Liberation of Arabistan, or DRFLA, invaded the embassy on Princess Gate in South Kensington, London, on the 30th of April 1980. They held 26 people hostage. 6 days of negotiations were conducted between the hostage takers and the Metropolitan Police, which seemed to be going nowhere. On day 6, feeling like an assault on their location was imminent, the insurgents killed one of their captives. They simply threw the body of cultural attaché Abbas Labasani out a window on May 5th at 7 p.m. Just 7 minutes later, the SAS were called in to take them out. Operation Nimrod had begun. Unlike most Special Forces operations, which are conducted with secrecy, Operation Nimrod was different. It took place in front of the world's media, who were gathered at the gates of the embassy, with one of the SAS teams in full view of the press. As a result, the world saw exactly what the SAS are capable of, and why their motto is, "Who dares wins." After only 17 minutes of being given the go-ahead to enter the building, the siege was over after a fierce gunfight with the terrorists. 19 hostages were rescued, and all but one of their captors were killed in the assault. The actions of the SAS on this day marked them as international heroes. With some of the assault captured on camera for the world to see, the soldiers, clad in black with their imposing gas masks, became the standard bearers for the reputation of the British Special Forces as a whole. Thanks for watching. Which one of these groups do you think is the most formidable? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. See you next time.